Vladimir Putin, the long-serving leader of Russia, has been a central figure in global politics for over 2 decades. His tenure has been marked by significant geopolitical maneuvers, domestic policy shifts, and a series of controversial actions that have drawn international scrutiny. Among the most contentious aspects of his rule are the numerous assassinations and suspicious deaths of political opponents, critics, and defectors. This article delves into the career of Vladimir Putin, with a particular focus on the individuals who have met untimely and often violent ends, allegedly at his behest. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin was born on October 7, 1952, in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, Russia. He began his career in the KGB, serving as an intelligence officer for 15 years, including a 6-year stint in Dresden, East Germany. After retiring from active KGB service in 1990, Putin transitioned into politics, initially serving as an advisor to Anatoly Sobchak, the mayor of St. Petersburg. By 1994, he had risen to the position of first deputy mayor. In 1996, Putin moved to Moscow, where he joined the presidential staff and quickly ascended the ranks. In July 1998, President Boris Yeltsin appointed him as the director of the Federal Security Service, FSB, the KGB's domestic successor. By August 1999, Putin was named prime minister, and on December 31, 1999, Yeltsin resigned, appointing Putin as acting president. Putin won the presidential election in March 2000, marking the beginning of his long tenure at the helm of Russian politics. Putin's presidency has been characterized by a consolidation of power, both domestically and internationally. He reintroduced centralized control within Russia, tightened the Kremlin's grip on mass media and the internet, and renationalized key industries. His administration has been marked by efforts to assert dominance over former Soviet states, including military interventions in Georgia and Ukraine. Throughout his rule, numerous critics, political opponents, and defectors have died under mysterious circumstances or been outright assassinated. While direct evidence linking Putin to these deaths is often elusive, the pattern of violence against his detractors suggests a concerted effort to silence opposition. Below are some of the most notable cases. A former FSB officer and outspoken critic of Putin, Alexander Litvinenko, fled to the United Kingdom, where he continued to criticize the Russian government. In November 2006, Litvinenko was poisoned with polonium-210, a rare and highly radioactive substance. A British inquiry concluded that his assassination was probably approved by Putin. Anna Politkovskaya, a journalist known for her investigative work on human rights abuses in Chechnya, was shot dead in her Moscow apartment building in October 2006. Her murder remains unsolved, but many suspect it was a politically motivated killing linked to her criticism of the Kremlin. Boris Nemtsov, a former deputy prime minister and a prominent opposition leader, was shot 4 times in the back near the Kremlin in February 2015. Nemtsov had been a vocal critic of Putin's policies, particularly the annexation of Crimea and the war in Ukraine. Despite Putin's promise to oversee the investigation personally, the mastermind behind Nemtsov's assassination has never been identified. Sergei Magnitsky was a lawyer who exposed large-scale corruption involving Russian officials. He was arrested and died in a Moscow prison under suspicious circumstances, allegedly due to medical neglect and torture. His death led to the U.S. passing the Magnitsky Act, which imposes sanctions on Russian officials implicated in human rights abuses. Natalia Estemirova, a human rights activist who documented abuses in Chechnya, was abducted and murdered in July 2009. Her body was found with gunshot wounds, and her death has been widely attributed to her work exposing human rights violations by Russian security forces. Alexei Navalny, a leading opposition figure and anti-corruption activist, was poisoned with a Novichok nerve agent in August 2020. Navalny survived the assassination attempt and accused Putin of being behind the poisoning. The Russian government has denied any involvement, but the incident drew widespread condemnation from the international community. The list of individuals who have died under suspicious circumstances or been assassinated during Putin's tenure is extensive. Some of the other notable cases include Boris Berezovsky, 2013. A former oligarch and critic of Putin, Berezovsky was found dead in his home in the UK. His death was initially ruled a suicide, but the coroner's office could not determine the cause of death. Stanislav Markelov and Anastasia Baburova, 2009. Markelov, a human rights lawyer, and Baburova, a journalist, were shot dead in Moscow. Markelov had represented victims of human rights abuses in Chechnya. Yuri Shikochkin, 2003, a journalist investigating corruption in the 1999 apartment bombings in Russia. Shikochkin died suddenly from a mysterious illness. His medical records were classified by Russian authorities. Vladimir Putin's career has been marked by a relentless consolidation of power and a willingness to eliminate opposition through any means necessary. While direct evidence of his involvement in the numerous assassinations and suspicious deaths of his critics is often lacking, the pattern of violence and the nature of the targets strongly suggest a concerted effort to silence dissent. The deaths of these individuals serve as a stark reminder of the dangers faced by those who challenge Putin's authority and the lengths to which his regime will go to maintain its grip on power.